thank you so much for coming down
Thanks
to
for
us
having
weekly.
me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, very exciting things going on. Brand new podcast.
Yes.
Dollar Bill.
Dollar Bill.
I listened to the episode that you had with Howie Mandel. It's really fantastic.
Isn't it great?
It really is.
Yeah.
It was such a fascinating and fun conversation that the two of you had. But what was it? Why did you want to start this particular podcast?
You know, a bunch of my buddies would always call me, like Jason Kennedy and Taylor Lautner and all these guys, and they'd be like, hey, thinking about leasing this car, it's $2,200. I'm like, Jason, are you out of your mind? Like, absolutely not.
Don't do it.
So, and then over the years, it just kind of more and more people would call, and I just thought, what a great idea to just have guests on, learn their financial journey, learn their relationship with money, and I wanted to create something that can help people save more dollars, you know, stretch the dollar, and then earn more dollars. You know, like how can you hustle and get more money coming in? So it all kind of came together, and you know, I have celebrities on. I also have people who are struggling and learning about their mistakes and how they were able to recover and their path forward, and just a lot of great takeaways. Yeah, so we wanted to create something that's for everyone. You know, not speaking in this business school jargon. It's, you know, you can watch it and you can have real takeaway. And the one that we just did with Howie, you know, he brought up a great point. He says, Bill, what are the first two letters of nothing? And I said, N-O. And he says, exactly. When you say no, you get nothing. So now I tell my son this, like, hey, Duke, if you say no to everything, you're going to wind up with nothing. You know, you got to try things. You got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to make mistakes. And that's what I loved about that interview with Howie. Like, he's still hustling. He's rich.
Yeah, right.
He got an airplane. Like, he was rich.
Yeah, but I love that he still is like, when I go to the store and if I see something that's expensive, I'm not going to pay for it. I still think that's expensive because you know, the value of the dollar is still there for him.
Still there, And that's the thing, you can't lose that. Right? You can't forget where you came from. You can't get comfortable with money. You know, it's easy to be poor. It's hard to have wealth, right? Because it takes, you know, it takes a lot of knowledge and expertise, and you have to really protect it.
Sure. So obviously you've been in the finance world for so many years, but sitting down with these people, did you learn anything new?
Always. That's why I did it.
Sure,
so I'm on the journey with the viewer, right? And I've always been an entrepreneur. I'm not necessarily a financial planner or someone in that world, but I've always been a business owner and a, you know, a hustler. But I'm learning every episode, right? And that's what I love. I think when you stop learning, you stop growing. And like we had Dennis Quaid on, I had John Bon Jovi's son on, who has this great wine. I mean, really fascinating people. I love hearing their stories. And every episode I have takeaway. And I go home and I tell Giuliana, I tell Duke, like, hey, you know, this is what we should be doing. And it's really good. And that's what I think the viewer is going to be able to get from this.
Yeah. What's the number one question that people always ask you?
Oh my God. I mean, people want to know how they can, you know, have financial freedom. And I always go back to what my dad taught me as a kid. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save, right? And you got to keep things under control. You got to be disciplined. And you can't always try to keep up with the Joneses next door. That's when you get yourself into trouble. You know? You got to check your ego at the door.
Do you feel like in this financial climate, that's the biggest mistake that people are making? Because obviously you see things on Instagram and social media, everybody's, you know, and you know, these influencers that are pushing things,
they're
you're like,
living
they're living their, and do you feel like that's happening?
You know, it's so funny. I have a friend who owns an airplane. And this is the best business ever. He charters it out for $5,000 an hour. They pull it out of the hangar. Instagram influencers come in. Never leaves the ground. No pilots. No nothing. And they take pictures and they create these false Instagram stories. Then he has the tug pull it back, and he says, "Bill, it's the best business ever. I don't have any fuel costs. Nothing." So you know, I think people are not long-term, they're not doing any long-term planning, right? You have to think, instead of 30 seconds, you have to start thinking 30 years. Because before you know it, I'm 50. It's like, how did that happen? Like, holy, you wake up one day and it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's game time.
It's game time, you gotta buckle up now, What's the biggest financial mistake that you feel like you have made in your career?
You know, knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky. I think, you know, definitely could have taken more risk. I think when you're younger, you know, you take more risk. I've always had that mentality of preservation. Just because the way my dad raised me, you know, plan for worst case scenarios. So when I look back, I guess it wasn't a mistake because I'm happy with where I'm at today. You can always have more, you know, and there's always going to be someone richer with a better car, with a bigger house, with a prettier spouse, right? Whatever. So you can't you got to live your own life. You got to run your own race, you know? And I think that's the trick.
Definitely. You know, we were introduced to you, the world from The Apprentice.
Yeah.
When you came off that show, was there a piece of advice that somebody gave you that still sticks with you today?
Oh my God, a lot. I got a lot of advice.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I got one great piece of advice. You know, he said, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, and this goes to any aspect of your life, you have to think like a conductor.
Okay.
And what he meant was, you know, the conductor of an orchestra has all these expert musicians in their pit, and they play their instruments to perfection.
Yeah.
The conductor himself or herself isn't an expert. So the moral of the story is, in whatever you're doing in life, don't try to play every instrument.
Yeah.
You know, hire the best social media expert or the best accountant or whatever you're trying to do, right? Don't be afraid to delegate. Don't be afraid to have other people who are smarter than you in the room. Those are the people who get into the rare air. The ones who, you know, have that big ego and they want to beat their chest, they wind up here. The ones who conduct wind up here.
Out of all the projects and investments and things that you guys have going on, what gives you the most fire? What are you most passionate about?
Well, we love the RPM restaurant group, so we have 9 of them now.
Yeah, that's great.
We started the first one 12 years ago. Everyone laughed at us. They said, what do the Rancics know about our restaurant? It's crazy, like, you know, and now they're like award-winning. You know,
I've been to RPM Italian in Chicago.
You have?
Yes,
okay, good. Well, thank you.
You're
I hope
welcome.
it was a good experience.
It was great.
So we're really proud of that. We've also launched the Giuliana Prosecco brand. It's everywhere now, which was great. So. Giuliana has nothing to do with it, but her name is on it. She didn't even want us to name it Giuliana.
Really?
She's like, I don't want my name, you know. So that's a lot of fun. And we do real estate. Giuliana's got an incredible clothing line on Home Shopping Network. It's just fascinating to see her grow as an entrepreneur. So, you know, I was able to kind of help her in the beginning, and she's blossomed into this amazing entrepreneur now.
Most people can't mix business and pleasure. Why does it work for the two of you?
You know, we love each other. Like, we have fun together. We're cut from the same cloth. Like, we came from different parts of the world. She was born in Italy. You know, I'm from the south side of Chicago. But we had these very similar upbringings, you know, where we were hustling and trying to kind of get to the next level in life. And now we see our son, and this kid is something. Like, he sells used golf balls. He goes out and finds golf balls on this golf course. And he's selling them for $3 a piece.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's had good teachers.
Yes, but he's going to be, I think, the most successful Rancic of them all.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there a particular thing that he's really interested in when it comes to the businesses?
He loves the restaurants, so he loves getting in the kitchen. He's serving. He makes the cotton candy. We have this cotton candy machine at RPM Steak. So he'll go out and serve the cotton candy to people who make it. You know, he's trying to hustle for tips. So he really enjoys it. And he goes there with his buddies and you know, goes into the kitchen with them, and it's fun. He's having a good time.
Doesn't he speak like a number of different languages too?
He won't tell you that because he's embarrassed, but he speaks Spanish because we spent a lot of time in Mexico over the last 5 years. And then Italian because of Giuliana and her mom and dad.
That's amazing. That's so great.
It's fun.
How does it feel to have an almost teenager in the house?
I don't know where the time went.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the blink of an
so
eye.
Fast,
Yeah, he's a great kid though. I love him so much, and he's a giant. He's probably taller than you.
Really?
And he's 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to be 12 in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you and Giuliana have rules when it comes to like social media and things like that? He's not on social. So do you have like a?
We locked off his accounts.
Okay.
So we have them just so no one can steal his name.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. No social media.
No social media.
No, not a chance.
Rules when it comes to like dating in the future.
Oh my God! Slow down. We are nowhere near that
nowhere
yet.
Near it.
We're discussing like who's going to have the talk with him.
Yeah.
You know, like that's you, Giuliana.
You're like touching nose, like who are you?
So I'm not ready to even go there. Yet. Wow.
Yeah.
He's a young 11. He's very innocent.
Okay. Got to keep it that way.
At least he's hustling me. If that's, that's what I'm believing.
Having those big conversations with your son, does that scare you? Does it?
A little bit. My parents didn't have them with me.
Okay.
Like I grew up in a very, Catholic.
Yeah.
So there was no birds and there was none of that. I figured that stuff out on my own.
On your own,
So,
that's so funny. I'm sure he's like fully aware of what the two of you have done, accomplished, and
he kind of grew up in it, so he doesn't know
any different.
Like he gets to meet these cool people, and it's like Justin Bieber was one of our neighbors in our house in Idaho. We have a house up in Idaho, and like Bieber would come over, and it's like he doesn't get it.
I'm
like, dude,
Like,
this
that's
is like
awesome.
major. He's like one of the biggest rock stars, you
Sure.
know. Adam Levine, we're friends. Like, it's just like, oh, the Levines are here, Dad. Like, it's crazy,
It's
you
just
know.
normal.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's for him. It's just kind of the way
everyday
way
life.
he is,
What's
yeah.
Justin Bieber like as a neighbor?
The greatest guy ever.
Yeah.
Like the nicest guy.
Yeah.
So good with Duke. Like, I love that kid.
Yeah.
He's not a kid anymore.
Right.
But love him. Like, just so impressed with the way he's turned his life around.
Sure.
And just a great guy.
About to have his own kid.
Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, he's phenomenal guy.
Yeah. Does Giuliana miss the red carpet world?
She might, yeah. There may be some news coming out soon. So
Really?
we'll see. I can't talk about it, but she was one of the best there was, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
No, definitely. I mean,
so-
I watched her,
Yeah.
you know, I got tips from her, definitely.
yeah.
No, she's definitely the best to do
I'm
it.
biased, but
Yes.
like when I watched her, it was like it just came so natural to
did.
her, and she was really good at it.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
she's starting to get the itch.
I think so. You know,
Yeah.
now that our son's getting a little bit older,
Yeah.
he's getting into sports, and it's we can kind of start to unhibernate a little bit.
Yeah,
you know.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that a tough decision for her to kind of take a step
No.
back? And no, it was just
No,
it's what
family
she wanted.
first.
Family first, yeah.
Like we wanted him to be normal,
Yeah.
you know, and have a wholesome, good upbringing with values and a work
Sure.
ethic, and
Yeah.
just in Chicago, it's just real.
It's
know?
real, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very normal life.
Yeah, it's very normal.
Yeah.
There's no paparazzi, like none of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, the two of you have been through a lot of highs, a lot of lows throughout your marriage. How do you kind of stay grounded and, get through those challenging times together?
I think gratitude. You know, it's easy to focus on what you don't have or what's happened to you in life
Yeah.
or the different challenges, but like we're very grateful. Like
Yeah.
my life has exceeded my dreams. Juliana's life has exceeded her dreams. So I think gratitude is probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
And we have faith. We know God's got a plan, and it's up to Him.
Sure.
And He's the one. He's the quarterback.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's leading the team.
Yeah.
If you could go back to day one of parenting, what would you tell yourself?
God, day one of parenting. I'll give you a couple things.
Okay.
Don't ever let your kids sleep in your bed.
I'm like, that is the challenge I'm going through right now.
Don't do it.
I know,
because
it's terrible.
It is.
Every morning, I'm like, I'm not doing it tonight.
Yeah, and then you wind up doing it, and it's like you can't. They just sucker you in.
Yes.
So that lasted a couple of years when he was younger, and I was like, oh my God, like it's just a horrible night's sleep. He would sleep horizontal to the headboard, kicking. So I wound up, going in the other room, which was a whole different story, which was kind of nice because I controlled the TV.
Yes.
And, so that's one. I think also don't always rescue your kids, right? And I was guilty of that in the beginning. We had a hard time having him.
Sure, of course, yeah.
We went through that cancer, but like it was. So I was always there, and now I'm like, figure it out, figure it out, and that's the best thing I've done, and not always being there to catch him.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. Always let your kids fail to figure it out
that's
on
right.
their own. Yeah, no,
I mean,
definitely.
that's what my parents did with me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a different ballgame.
It was a different ball game. I mean, I feel like we're afraid of the tough love now sometimes.
Right. Yeah, don't be your kid's friend.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I coached his teams, and like he had to ride the bench sometimes.
Yeah,
He didn't like it because Dad was putting him on the bench, but we're here to win, buddy.
Yes, we are. Not everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
How's Giuliana feeling health-wise?
She's amazing.
Good.
She's been, I think it's been 10 years cancer-free, or
amazing.
almost 10 years cancer-free. So
All right.
knock on wood. We just went in and got full body scans from this Prenuvo company, and I'm waiting for the results. We went on Thursday.
Okay.
So trying to be very, like preventive.
Sure. No,
or,
definitely, as you should
cautious,
be. No, that's really important.
So,
yeah. When people listen to this podcast, what are some of those lessons that you really hope that they take away from it?
Yeah, I think you're going to get nuggets from every episode, right? I think that's the thing. We're always learning, we're always growing, and anyone can have financial freedom, right? It's just the choices you make, right?
Yeah.
And I always call it the Warren G way, or Warren Buffett.
Yeah, or Warren G.
Yeah, the Warren Buffett way, like just buy and hold and invest and just forget about it and let it grow, and then you're 65 one day and you're like, oh my God, that's $1 million today. Like, how did that happen? And it's compounding interest, But we kind of get you the little tips and tricks and secrets, and a lot of people have really good antidotes on how they do it, but it's about discipline too. You gotta, you either pay now or you pay later.
Yeah,
And,
no, it's so true.
You want to be able to have financial freedom and to be able to one day have your money working for you instead of you working for your money.
Sure.
Is really the American dream. And I look at, my father-in-law, he actually made the sport coat.
God, it's beautiful.
So he's a master tailor from Italy, came to America with nothing when Giuliana was 9,
Right.
and built this thriving business and multiple stores and put all of his kids through college.
Yeah.
Like, where else can you do that?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Became a millionaire, this
Yeah.
guy. It was amazing.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I got a good deal.
Yeah, you got a great deal. Out of all the conversations that you had, I'm sure that there's fascinating parts of each one, but which one really kind of blew you away?
Well, I love Howie. This is the first
great.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes more money in his outside adventures than he does from TV.
I found that interesting.
Which is incredible. And he's doing America's Got Talent. I mean, this guy's got more shows on TV than anyone I know.
Sure, yeah.
So he had really good advice, really good nuggets. I think people are going to enjoy it. He's very relatable,
He is.
right? I mean, he came from nothing. You know what I mean? Like, literally, the guy who owned gas stations and did real estate development, and he's actually my landlord where we shoot the show.
I love that.
So like, we're paying the guy rent every month.
Totally.
But I think some of the episodes to come where you learn about people's failures, right? Because I think you learn more from failure than you do from success.
Definitely.
Success is great, and everyone's going to tell you how they, hit it big or this stock that they won on. But very few people tell you about the losses, right? Or the hardship, or how they went bankrupt. I made my son. There's a show on ESPN because my son is a consumer, loves to watch all these, So I made him watch the show called 30 for 30 Broke. And it's a documentary on ESPN about how all these athletes went broke within 3 years of leaving the NFL, the NBA, and these guys had 50, 60, $70 million contracts, and they just wasted it all away. And I sat his butt down and I said, "You got to watch this."
Right. Yeah. No, it's important because that's a
lot
lot of money to go through in 3 years.
And that's got to last those guys the rest of
their lives. Yeah, because the career's over at 30, 35.
If that, if you're lucky.
Right. If you're lucky. Yeah. No, it's so true.
That's it. It's about being disciplined and thinking 30 years from now.
Yeah.
What kind of life do I want to live?